My name is Sanders Larson Adu. My Ghanaian name is Kofi, which means born on Friday.
Oh, I'm Kwame Akwa.
My name is Gabriel Amo. I go by Gabe. I go by Gabriel Felix Kofi Amo. So every iteration works, and I'm proud of every part of my name.
Question. My career started off, I'm a lawyer by training. I got an opportunity to go to Capitol Hill in 2006 when the Democrats took over the House, and I was able to be counsel on the House Financial Services Committee right before the 2008 financial crash. Got to work on the Dodd-Frank financial reform bill and many other bills during that time. It's an exciting time to be on Capitol Hill.
I'm lucky to serve as Special Assistant to the President and Deputy Director of the White House Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. And for me, the only thing I've ever done is work in politics and government. And it comes, frankly, from a lot of my home training. Every Sunday when my dad was off and we were sitting around, he wouldn't let me change the channel from headline news. And so, as you all know well in our community, education is important, but the desire was for me to be a doctor, perhaps an engineer, but instead I went to something that connected to those Sundays. And so I started in politics, working on my first campaigns in high school, first full-time campaigns even before I started college, and school was central to that. But as I was able to graduate from college and go to grad school in the UK, when I came back, the only thing I wanted to do was to be involved in politics and government. So I've worked for 2 presidents, I've worked for a governor, I've worked on a United States Senate race, a governor's race, have supported informally dozens of incumbents and candidates. So my career has always been driven at trying to maximize the good that my family has experienced in this country, and making sure to replicate that for so many other people.
Wow, my career and how I landed my my role, it's an interesting story. When I came to this town, I had no idea what a lobbyist was. Didn't know anything about government affairs or anything like that. And I came in, I worked on political campaigns, did a lot of advocacy work, worked for a small healthcare nonprofit, but was always interested in the political process. And there was an old white man that worked in the office next to me, who we would sit around and talk about politics all the time, who was the lobbyist for our organization. And in my conversations with him, I learned what the career was, and he actually gave me the first opportunity to take his job when he left. And since then, I've gone all in. And if I had known this career existed when I was 5 years old, this is exactly what I would have wanted to do. But instead, I was told I needed to be an engineer, a professor, a doctor, but I'm not good at math or science, so that wasn't going to work for me.
So the values my parents instilled in me really came down to a couple things. One, you have to work hard at all times. You're representing your family. As a Ghanaian, you know that well. When you go outside, you always represent your family and your culture. And so you have to work hard, but you also have to have a sense of public service. My grandfather was a public servant. He's actually the first foreign minister with Kwame Nkrumah when he came to Ghana. And that spirit of public service has been inculcated in me as well. And I was so honored to be working on Capitol Hill. Now I'm still in the public arena as a lobbyist for a major Fortune 500 company. I just feel blessed to be able to spend every day looking at these wonderful buildings and meeting with members of Congress and staff and constituents around the country.
Outside of work ethic, you know, I have a big family. I have 5 brothers and 2 sisters and dozens and dozens and dozens of cousins. And so I know that being a role model and looking out for your example, not being just for you, but for the entire community is one of those values that came to me very early. I'm not even the oldest. You know, my older sister set the model for me. She was born in Ghana, and she very much was the person that I copied. You know, she was a public speaker. She was great in school throughout. And so I saw her do that, and I said I had to copy that model. So in so many ways, being an an example and a role model for those brothers and sisters and cousins is one of those values that I learned very early on.
My parents instilled in me and my two younger brothers a lot of values. First, God is first. God is the head of our household, of our family. Family comes second. You don't have cousins, only brothers and sisters. Humility, giving back, having high integrity. These are the things that define who we are as Ghanaians and who we are as a family, and that's what they instilled in me.
Well, I tell you, to be Ghanaian, it's really a sense of pride. You know, I grew up in California. My dad is from Ghana, actually from Kumasi, born and raised, and grew up in Accra. My mom is actually American. And growing up, I was closer to my American side. And it was only when I got older when I really began to appreciate my Ghanaian side. I began to learn about my family history. I learned that my grandfather, for instance, A.L. Adu, was the first black civil servant in Ghana before independence. And as I got to know my family history more, got to know Ghanaian culture more, it made me want to learn more and become more proud of my heritage.
What it means to me to be a young Ghanaian is, especially as a first generation, it means a lot of the core parts of who I am. That is my work ethic. You know, I have no problem putting in 12 hours a day of work because I know that the people who came before me worked so much harder in so many ways, but expected me to do well. I would say beyond that, ties of community are important, which is why I'm so honored to be part of an organization like this that is assembled to replicate the community ties that have uplifted so many of us over the years. And I hope that that my experience for my children and folks coming behind me is that I hope that their experience is enhanced by the first generation perspective that I possess.
Being Ghanaian, even though I was born in a small town in Tennessee, in Memphis, we were the only Ghanaians for probably the first 15 years of my life. Any other Ghanaians that were there were people that were in our home or from a part of our family. But even though that was how I grew up, being a Ghanaian is central to who I am.
Your favorite Ghanaian dish?
Oh, that's easy. Jollof rice. And don't let anybody tell you that Nigerian jollof rice is better than Ghanaian. Ghanaian is the best, 100%.
Anything that my mother makes is my favorite Ghanaian dish. But if I had to choose, I would say peanut soup, good peanut soup, and in contumbre.
My favorite Ghanaian dish is fufu and soup, and light soup, and I like it because it's straightforward. You know, every culture has their straightforward food, and in every part of the world that I've lived in, it is you look for the things that make you feel good, both in your memory, right? Nostalgia is a very strong feeling, and I can remember being fed fufu as a baby. You know, sometimes my mom gets in my bowl, and I say, look, I'm too old for that. But both the nostalgic feeling, but also the feeling of comfort. You know, everybody's got some form of chicken.
What is your current favorite Afrobeat song?
Oh, I would say it's definitely a WizKid song and Burna Boy.
WizKid, all these folks. So let me get back to you on that one. I got to ask my daughter.
But I would say anytime I feel nostalgic, anytime I hear anything from Daddy Lumba.